Welcome to the Waldorf GridIron Club Podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret gridiron bunker beneath Volsdorf Field. Now, let's meet the captains of today's podcast.
Welcome to the Waldorf GridIron Club Podcast, folks. We're back after a long spring break. We've only had the one episode. We had Coach Silva and his beautiful wife, and actually all three of them showed up.
Chris and Carissa and baby girl yet to be named. We didn't ask that question. Maybe
no, that can be a little touchy.
That's their information. Maybe it could change, and they don't want to be held to that.
Well, right.
She doesn't need to be going back 18 years in the archives and be like, "You were going to name me Sugar."
Well,
Sugar
you know what?
Silva? Come on.
Oh my
I thought about
God.
that today.
You know what? From here on out, we are calling that little beautiful baby girl Sugar. Well, so again, we're keeping the treats coming for both you listeners, and we're pretty excited for you. Mm-hmm. Bringing in another member of our family. This young man hails from Owensboro, Kentucky, and he's our brand new D-line coach, and his name is Will Nalley. Will, thanks so much for being here, buddy.
Glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
You like that?
Love that.
It's always so quick. Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yep. So when you lived in Owensboro and went to high school there, you went to Davies County.
Davis County, yep.
No, Davies, is it?
No, see, the thing with Owensboro is it's Davis, which I get it. There's two S's, and there's that.
Is there an E in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The usual spelling.
No, you're saying it right for someone that's not in the town.
Yeah.
But they call it Davis.
Yeah, it's Davis County.
Yeah, that's what I'd call it.
It's like, Louisville, Louisville,
Yeah.
So
What do you call that? Louisville?
Louisville, yeah. Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville.
Right. Yeah.
And we talked about this in a previous episode. My favorite was when it was like the road to the Final Four when it was in Louisville, and Charles Barkley said, "Y'all got to know how to say Louisville. It's spelled L-U-L-L-V-L-L, Louisville."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Charles. You can
Yeah, he does.
him.
What's the one? He goes, terrible.
Terrible.
That's terrible.
This is terrible. Terrible.
I don't know if we're very good at improv.
No, we're not. But he also recently he said something else too. He talk about the basketball players trying to take time off, like they need flex schedules because they work so hard, and he's not having that.
No, I bet not.
Yeah.
Well, the round mound to rebound. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
King Charles, bro.
Old Kentucky. So what does that mean? What is Kentucky? What's your state history? No, you know what that means?
Yeah, so I think it started with the Cherokee.
Yeah.
Kentucky called it like the happy hunting grounds. 'cause
Okay.
That's where the bison used to go. So
All right.
they used to kind of, mingle over, kind of like you're going to Walmart and I guess prehistoric times. And
There you go.
Get your bison, get your deer.
Stop on by Kentucky.
Healthy fish, catfish.
Nice.
So.
Very, very. I like Kentucky. It's a nice.
Kentucky's
nice
a beautiful state.
Absolutely.
It's one of those. And
What's the capital?
what? Lexington? No. Knoxville.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
dang it.
First time I ever went trout fishing was actually in Kentucky.
Really? You know what?
That's not true. It was in Tennessee.
Chuck,
Gatlinburg.
Mr. Edson right now.
Same trip though.
I hope he's not listening to this because we had no state capitals
Guarantee
and
he's
county
not.
seats.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, he might though. He might be checking on us from Arizona, wherever he lives. I think he's in Arizona.
Hey,
nowadays.
Mr. Edson, how's it
Hey,
going,
all
buddy?
right. Yeah.
Good.
Well, Will doesn't know who that is. The old civics teacher when we were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Local.
You didn't go to
district.
school with us.
No. Went to Owensboro. How
So-
big is that town? How big a town is that?
Yeah, so it's about 100,000.
Oh, okay, so just a little bit bigger than Forest City.
It's a little bit. Not bad, though.
Yeah.
Touch. And prior to the podcast, Will and I were having a discussion, and I said, well, have you ever lived in a town this small? Well, yes, he has, because after they were the Vikings, is that right? Were you
The Blue Raiders.
the Blue Raiders? Ooh.
Yeah.
How did I see you with a Vikings jersey on? Did I?
Yeah, I don't know if I've had a Vikings jersey on here
Would you
recently.
like what?
Oh, man.
I'm not opposed.
Well, not a Minnesota Vikings, because I
Oh,
thought you had more class than that.
Come on. You know.
But after high school, you originally went to Murray.
Went to Murray.
Yeah, went to Murray State, and then you transferred over to Lindsey Wilson.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and was one of my favorite of Wilson Phillips.
The Lindsey Wilson.
I'm just kidding. That's
Yeah.
not true.
Who is Lindsey Wilson?
It's a NAIA school in the Mid-South.
Yeah, but it's named after. Is it named after two people? Or one person named Lindsey
That is a
Wilson?
great question. Because there's is there a Lindsey and then a Wilson?
Yeah, right.
Or,
Is there?
no. So that's a good question.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can't say I fully know the answer.
Okay.
So the first rule to coaching is, right, you don't say something you don't know.
Okay.
So I'm just going to come out and say right now,
Oh, that's
I don't know.
All right.
And those are 3 words I use daily.
That's the first rule of coaching, or certainly one of the top 10 of coaching. If you don't know, you don't
overcoach it.
don't overcoach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Because you don't want to be making something up, and then you're going to tell them something completely wrong.
Because the thing about it with players is they can tell if you're faking or not. So,
They can tell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
All those kids when I was coaching 4th grade football. I mean,
Yeah.
they were like, he doesn't know. That's awesome. I guess that makes sense, because there's times that you might, if you go with it and you're just like, yeah, I feel like this is the technique, and you just completely send them down the wrong path. Good deal.
So
Here's the answer.
I
At
used
the time
my
we
pocket,
segued.
I used my pocket computer
Okay.
to look up Lindsey Wilson College. It's founded in 1903.
Yep,
Okay.
I knew that.
Hey, that's when Waldorf was founded.
Yeah. It was a training school by the Louisville Conference of the Methodist Episcopal Church
Okay.
South.
All right. A little
It was named after
Wesley in there.
it was named after the late nephew and stepson of Catherine Wilson of Lebanon, Kentucky, who died in 1902, and it was originally called the Lindsey Wilson Training School to prepare young people of the area for coursework at Vanderbilt University.
Aha.
The Commodores.
I see.
Yeah.
That's nice. So it started the same year as Waldorf, an NAIA school.
Yep.
And started off kind of as a training academy. It sounds like that's
Yep.
what Waldorf started as, just kind of like a training academy for the church, kind of to prep people and for business and church. Yeah. There you go. Neat. Fantastic.
It is
That's
fantastic.
what we say. Yeah. Good deal. So how did you get from when did you graduate? Because you're a young guy.
I am. So
Yeah.
I graduated in the spring of 2021.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's a couple of years ago already.
Right.
And what was your degree?
So mine was in business administration.
Okay.
And then I had a focus or concentration, however you want to call it.
Sure.
In management.
Okay.
Yep. So did that.
Good.
And, what's kind of funny about, I guess, my career was a student at Murray.
Is that you?
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Was a student at Murray, right? And then I went to Murray. I didn't think I was going to play college football. Yeah. So Andy's pulling up some Facebook pictures of me here. And
Thanks for narrating
Yeah.
it, because this is not on visual.
we have
You
the
know,
camera off.
Everybody's got to guess.
Sorry, I got really distracted because I'm like, I know I saw him in a Viking.
Yeah.
I had to think there for a second. Like, no, it hadn't been recent, but no. So I played middle school for the College E Vikings. So
Okay.
probably best
College
3 years of my
Vikings.
life. But went on to Davis County. Played high school football there.
Yeah.
And kind of got this feeling like, I had a great high school career, but it was just, I don't know about college football. I've kind of, I've given the game what I have, and, I want to be really successful in business and,
Yeah.
just make a lot of money, and I want to own a place like this one of these days.
Yeah,
And, like that was kind of my goal,
Yeah.
So I did that, and I worked a lot that summer.
Yeah.
Worked multiple jobs, just a lot, worked a lot.
Yeah.
Didn't go to prom, worked a double shift on prom, just straight
Well,
money.
Back up there.
Yeah.
You worked a double shift on prom?
On
what
prom.
do you mean? Like you didn't go to
I was
prom?
a host. Yeah, I was a host
Oh.
for Cheddar Scratch Kitchen. So that's what I did during the school year.
For what?
Huh? Cheddar?
Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen.
Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen.
Yeah,
Explain that.
It's a pretty popular chain.
Okay.
Olive Garden.
Cheddar's.
Yeah,
And it's
Like
called
it-
Scratch Kitchen?
it's Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. That's the official name.
The
I guess.
whole thing.
Yeah, but you can just say Cheddar's.
Yeah, that's why I think.
Yeah,
I feel
but
like I've heard of Cheddar.
Red Lobster, Olive Garden, Cheddar's, like it's in the same
I've never seen a
corporate.
Really?
Oh yeah, but it's cool with them though because the layout's the same.
Okay.
So I can go to your Cheddar's in your nearest, city in Iowa, right?
Okay.
And I can tell you, hey, that's table 106. That's table 11. That's table 81.
Really?
Yeah, because the layout's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a Cheddar's in Iowa. We'll have to.
We do not have a Waffle House in Iowa.
Oh man.
Yeah, we don't.
It's tough.
Black and gold Waffle House, legit, tiny little. We don't have those.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Village Inns, though. One of my favorites.
We got
State Troopers and old
Cabin
retired
Coffee, right?
soldiers.
Cabin Coffee. That's the spot,
Cabin?
right?
Yeah, cabin coffee here in town. And we love that.
We do love cabin coffee.
Got a little breakfast place uptown also. You have to check that out. How long have you been in town?
About 2 weeks now.
Okay, good.
2 weeks.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so
Weeks.
You
The
know.
day that I met Coach Nalley, he's I think he'd been in town like a total of 4 hours.
oh
Yeah. So that night, I got up at midnight and I drove straight in. So I
Holy.
pretty well had about 2 hours of sleep, and I may have been, my eyes probably twitching a little bit, and
Yeah.
I didn't know if you could tell that or not, but
You
I fought the good fight.
You did, and it was interesting because when I met you, you were very quiet, not knowing that you were tired. And I can't remember which coach said, "Well, he's a talker." I'm like, I met him. He didn't hardly say anything, but he was trying to stay awake.
How did you get that? I mean, so like, did you interview in person? Did you know somebody on the staff? How did you?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Yeah.
So I think the thing with me was, this past off season, I'd been. So let's back up.
Yeah, let's do that.
You got to tell the full story.
Yeah, you gotta
right?
get it.
I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's why we're here.
you graduate from Lindsey Wilson College in the spring of 2021 after winning the national championship.
Okay.
Undefeated season.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's
Just
pretty good.
riding off in the
In
sun.
football or some other sport?
In football.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was awesome.
I would lead with that even if it was like racquetball
Yeah.
and just let people fill in the blanks.
Oh, I got the ring in my back.
Nice.
I just kind of showed around.
Heck
Hey,
yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to get
slight
it out.
flex. Yeah, let's do
yeah,
it.
let's do that.
Definitely
Oh, you
get
got
that.
it with. Oh, you've got it.
Oh,
unlike
yeah.
unlike the coach Chris comes in last week and we asked him about his ring. He said that was a high school ring. They were a champ. He said he had a ring, right?
It was actually
No, it was because he was coaching and they had
No, that's when he was a player.
when he was a player. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Didn't have it. He was in the
pull it
office.
out here.
Oh
But
my gosh.
Look at
let
that.
her ride.
Look at that. Oh my
Check that
gosh.
out. But anyhow,
Thing weighs 6 pounds.
yeah.
yeah.
I've got large hands. I better not. I could maybe get it on a pinky. You could leave a scar with something like
Yeah.
that. Folks, you
Yeah.
can't see this thing, but it's absolutely, absolutely national champions, Lindsey Wilson College, undefeated, NAIA football champions.
Yeah.
And you played who? Northwestern?
Northwestern.
Oh.
Another Iowa school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The Blue Raiders.
Yeah. The
That
Blue
is
Raiders and the Red Raiders for the national championship.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
And then it says inside the ring, make away. Troy, you got to
Mine
hold
was-
that thing. Here, brace yourself. The thing is heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to the story, right? So you graduate. I have my Peyton Manning moment. You ride off in the sunset
Yeah.
with your championship, and really just had this feeling that similar to high school, and that I just felt like I had the opportunity to come back and play, but
Yeah.
just really wanted to coach. So I expressed that to the coaching staff, and was really just looking for an opportunity. But what's tough about the coaching profession is, you'll apply for a lot of jobs and you won't hear anything.
Yeah.
So that summer, again, I got the ring.
Yeah.
Played a really good defense, and I'd like to say I knew a little something about football.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Player. So I was just trying to get a job, just something, and couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So again, couldn't get a reply back, couldn't get anything. So I was kind of down in the dumps there
Yeah.
for about a month. So I go on. There's a football site that kind of keeps up with job postings, and there was one for Murray as a volunteer. But it was a chance to go back and work with a strength coach that I knew. There was kind of my connection because he was the strength coach when I was there as a player. Knew my worth ethic. Knew I was going to work hard.
Yeah.
Knew who I was, and basically just kind of asked him like, "Hey, I'm going to apply for this volunteer offensive spot.
Yeah.
Just kind of wanted to see if you can put a good word in with me with the staff, and leave it at that." So, I couldn't hear back from D3s and NAIAs and all these others, but again, it was a volunteer.
Yeah. Right.
But I got my foot in the door with the D1 school.
Nice.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
So did that for the fall, and got to work with receivers.
So this is the fall of
21.
21.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah, yeah.
2021. Yeah. So working
Yeah.
with receivers, which is completely different from me because I'm a defensive guy by
Yeah.
nature. So I'm working with receivers, and I couldn't tell you the first thing about stances and releases and reading coverage, and all that kind of thing from the offensive perspective.
right.
So I did that, and I cannot express how much I learned in that. And then that winter, it kind of the shockwaves went through the NAIA, but the head coach, Coach Oliver, there that started the program in 2010. So Lindsey Wilson's a young football program. So started in 2010, went through the fall of 21, and then went to Georgetown College around Lexington, Kentucky. So that kind of sent the shockwaves through the NAIA.
Yep.
Well, the guy that eventually got the job was a defensive coordinator, and the guy that coached me at Lindsey Wilson.
Okay.
By the name of Phil Kleckler.
Okay.
So he got the job, and a couple of days later, he called me saying, "Hey, I got a spot." Coaching linebackers, and and that kind of thing. So
Your bread and butter.
yeah, probably the spot I was the most comfortable at.
Absolutely.
So but I was kind of in a rough spot because it's like, well, I just volunteered this whole time at Murray,
Right.
and I'm up for a GA spot, which is a paid spot, and I'm in a year lease.
Yeah.
And, the logistics of it. It's like, man, I don't know if I want to take this and have to double back. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to ruin that relationship. So what's awesome about the people that have been in my corner is they have always supported me and have always, whatever my best option is, they're going to be for it.
Yeah.
So he essentially told me that, hey, if you take this job and they offer it to you and you feel like that's your best opportunity as a coach, then you need to take it.
Right.
And no hard feelings.
Right.
And that's essentially what happened. Was we went through the spring with Lindsey, and then Murray calls back because they had a spot open. And what kind of really got me into that one was a person I worked with at Murray, and then the chance to work with a new position. So Johnson Richardson is, everyone I've talked about is a mentor of mine to this point, but he may be the best human being I've been around. Just salt of the earth, great person. You work as a GA, you work under somebody, but he's not. There's no nightmare stories with him. He's very laid back, very easy to work with, and he's extremely smart.
Right.
So the chance for me to grow and learn multiple positions, and especially offensive line, that's a critical position. So I just felt like it was a no-brainer for me to go back and take that job and learn a new position and grow.
Yeah.
Because I knew that way, and certainly there's an advantage to being the coach and running the room and recruiting, and I had that experience, and I think that experience is what helped me get here. But also the offensive line has helped me grow and learn in that area, and I think that's also a reason why I'm here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you diversified.
Yeah.
And then had the opportunity to coach in the program at a higher level, and you got some great mentors, and obviously your playing experience has got the ring to prove it.
But what's awesome is what happened this offseason was that even the people at Murray went up to me and said, "Hey, we love you. You've done a great job here. We're not trying to get you out of here." But they just told me what's best for me, and it's like, "Hey, you gotta find a way to coach next year and be a coach."
Yep.
So I trust their advice. If I trust you and you're my mentor, then you've done it longer than me, so I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So that's what they encouraged me to do was, hey, try to find a job and try to be a coach next year. So when I saw that Lindenwood, grab Coach Finley, I immediately jumped on and tried to reach out, to the coaching staff here with Coach Barrymore and, Coach Chapa.
Okay, so you reached out to...
Absolutely, I did. So the OVC kind of had a trade.
Yeah.
They gained Finley, but you guys gained Will Nalley.
Right.
So,
there you go.
We'll see how that trade
A will
works.
for a will. Where there's a will, there's another will. Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
that is a great story, man.
So you're
I
on the
love it.
ball and you're watching what's going on, and that is good. So that's an interesting exchange anyway, Andy, because one thing we've said since we started our second season here as the podcast is now looking at a very young coach, coaching. You call him a stable of coaches, and that is absolutely true. The head coach is the youngest college head coach in the United States.
Yeah,
and then he's just got a band of very young, intelligent, and capable and enthusiastic coaches, which is going to be interesting to see. I think your mentors were correct. They're like they didn't necessarily have Waldorf in mind, but they're right. Go out and do that. Now you came into a program that you reached out to that is hungry for everybody's hungry.
absolutely.
Nobody's complacent. No. And I'm not saying that there was complacency before because that wasn't the case either. I'd say maybe there might have been complacency 10 years ago, but that has not been the case for a while. It's interesting to me that you talk about your college experience where, they started that program and you said 2010. So within 13 years, within 10 years, you have a national championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we started our program in 1920. We got some RC Cola Bowls back in the day. We need to get on it.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And the level of competition, there seems to be more and more kids that are wanting to play that college ball. There's a ton of competition through in and throughout, and it doesn't necessarily matter what level you're at as far as that competition. Some of those kids, you got those dudes that are holding out for a D1 offer, and it's April after their senior year, and they haven't heard from anybody. Eventually, that's where they're going to have to look at, well, did anybody D2, D3 look at him? Did NAIA look at him?
Right.
And, the NAIA is always a better option in our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're horribly biased.
I think so now I'm going to throw, this is not
You're going to go D3 on us?
I am going to go D3, but not in the way you think I am. I'm going to, and I'm also not recanting what I see. If you don't know, it doesn't matter, but I don't think D3 is a good option for players. And we've already expressed why I think that. But I don't think that that's necessarily the case with coaches because, we had Chris in last week and he was at Wartburg. I think that when it comes to coaching the game and just the business of human interaction that is so important, like that's what coaching is. Our head coach says it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. And that human interest part of that, coming out of college, being 22, 23 years old, 21 maybe, and they don't have that necessarily that understanding of the needs of your, of other people. Sure. And coaches have to have that in order to be successful. So I think with the exception, so not for the athletes, so still sticking to my guns on that, but I will say that I think that in D3, you absolutely can learn a lot from coaches and coaching. Absolutely. Because, some of those guys have been around for a very long time and they know an awful lot about people and the game.
Sure. Right. And I'll tag along with that. Again, I'm a Kentucky guy, so the Kentucky Derby's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going on for quite a while now. How many years off the top of your head?
That's well over 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Like 140, 150, something
it's
like that.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So, but in the 100 years of the Kentucky Derby, I haven't seen any donkeys win it.
Yeah.
So that goes along with coaching, right? I mean, I could be the greatest coach in the world, but if I got a donkey, then probably ain't looking too good.
Yeah. Didn't a zebra win it once?
That was a movie? I think that was a Disney movie.
Was that Secretariat? Was that it?
Yeah.
I thought that was I thought it was a documentary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it could have been. I mean, zebras are fast.
Noted.
From what I understand.
Right. I'll
tell you this about the Kentucky Derby, though. Have you been? I've never been.
I have not.
I've been to, is it Churchill Downs? I've been to Churchill Downs. Yep. I did have the requisite mint julep.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm not a fan. I don't like bourbon.
What?
Yeah, I knew I'd say that to a Kentucky
guy from Kentucky.
I don't like not a bourbon guy.
I don't mind bourbon.
Do
you like moonshine?
I mean, sure. I like listen. There's a lot of things out of, but there's you pick your flavors, and the bourbon flavor for me isn't. I'm not a bourbon. There's folks that love bourbon.
Yes, they do.
And I think we've got some bourbon manufacturing going west of here over in Bancroft. They might make some bourbon. I know they make whiskey.
Yeah, they do.
They might have a bourbon, but anyway, yeah, just minor detail, not a deal breaker whatsoever. But I had the mint julep, and that wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I've not had the pleasure, I guess, of having a mint julep. You're crushing leaves, and just
I like the mint part.
Oh, see, I would like the bourbon part.
We could have shared one and then been happy. Yeah. I did keep the cup, though, because it's commemorative. Yeah.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
So did you go to the Derby or just?
Oh, no.
It was just at Churchill.
I do have weird hats, too, but just wasn't there that time of year and wasn't.
Because it's Memorial Day weekend, correct?
Sometime in the spring.
Three words I use daily. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Hey. That's right. He's not been
sticking to his guns.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I
think it's in the spring.
It's like the first weekend in May.
Sure.
And the only reason I know that is because the walleye opener over at Okoboji is.
That's why we can't go.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a walleye opener. You got to
Yeah.
do that. So what did you find yourself doing growing up in Owensboro, Kentucky?
Yeah. So, the first love was basketball, as with about anybody in Kentucky, I think, but I think what was interesting about my family was, my father had a background in farming, and, for one reason or another didn't get the chance to continue with this farm. So, he kind of bought some land and, I still kind of laugh about it, and they still do it. Now we may downscale this year, upcoming, but we grew Belgian mums. So it's
flowers.
It's a chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started off as like 200, 300, kind of thing. And then, I think we got up to like 8,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy
smokes. Yeah.
smokes.
So we kind of took off with that. So that was the fun summer project. And then, did pansies too.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I guess doing that, but that was more my experience. Obviously, did basketball, jumped into football eventually and did that. Did track too. But I've always kind of had a background, a little bit at least, in agriculture. So did moms.
That's good.
Baled hay.
Yes, it is.
Worked at a farm. Going back to that second job, was picking up chunks and pulling mare stale, in a soybean field. So.
Mums are that's what we buy in the fall, right? It's a fall flower.
Yeah, it's a fall.
Yeah, and you get them all over the place, and so that's amazing. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah,
what is the joke is like the ladies buy the mums, to kill them, within a month because the frost comes. They put them outside in the fall, and it's really pretty, and then that's it.
Well, we've had some that live past, the fall. They can live through the frost.
Right.
Yeah.
Really?
Not here, but
No.
yeah, that's awesome.
Well, it's funny though you say that because where we ordered it from, the mums came from Canada.
Is that right?
Yeah. So again, I'm not promising that they can make it through Iowa, and I've certainly seen the effects of an Iowa snowstorm already in my 2 weeks here. But I will say this: if you're coming from Canada,
you ought to be able to.
you got a shot.
Yeah, that's right.
You got a shot.
Yeah, good point. I didn't know that. Chrysanthemum is also the flower that you would use. It's got the natural insect repellent.
Yeah. You're supposed to plant those or have those around your property to keep the insects
There
away.
you go. Folks are learning all kinds of things today. And you baled hay, too.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And was your dad, he grew up on a farm.
Right.
Was there tobacco involved?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tobacco was
So
100% involved.
big tobacco out there. Yeah. Somebody was talking about raising tobacco that I was listening to recently and just saying like that had to be crazy hard, like the hard work,
Right.
There's very manual labor.
Yeah, I've heard stories of people that they did tobacco and then they went off to the Marines and
that was easy.
they did tours and they did all that and hey, I finally mastered it, right? I'm a tough guy, and then you go back to tobacco and it's like, well, back to just back to it. It's tough. So I'm very thankful that I haven't had to do that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly good money for those that are interested in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Obviously, around here, agriculture is
Pretty big.
it's the business. I always know. We're lucky in our small town. They have the home of Winnebago Industries and Itasca Motorhomes. But it's farming. It's
absolutely.
farming.
The backbone of Iowa's economy is farming.
We're right in the middle. This is my family farms, and that's part of the trades. It's just like what you do. So not a lot of diversity, I will say that. It's mostly corn and soybeans, and occasionally you get some hay. But so a little more diversity out there with tobacco, and you said soybeans and some of the other crops, and mums, which is great.
Belgian mums.
Yeah.
Yep. So I can 8,000 of those plants. Like how much acreage does that take up?
So we had a whole irrigation system, so it was actually pretty compact, and it was pretty well done. I'm going to give my father some credit there, but we did about 2.5 acres, something like that. So was pretty small and condensed, I'd like to say. But
I bet it looked great.
Oh my gosh, it'd have to be beautiful.
Well, if you sell them before they bloom, it probably just looks like green.
Oh hey, look, little green buds.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome though. Maybe that's what I should do. Man, I should raise flowers.
You need something else to do.
Something else to do in my
You
retirement.
do in your retirement. Yeah. You're the busiest guy I know. Jeez.
No job.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. Write that down. Bills and mums.
Belgian mums. We're going to get her done.
All right.
So what did you do to let your hair down besides work?
I'm not really. I'm pretty well worked, straight business. We've mentioned some movies, but I'm not a big movie guy. I'm not a Netflix guy.
Really?
It's not me.
right.
So no, don't watch Excel tutorials.
Oh, you heard about that?
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
One. So that's
He's
nobody
he's a
does
large
that.
nerd.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I fight him a little bit on the nerdiness because I do stuff with, computers and graphics and videos and
Right. Yeah.
I got to be excited about having you on staff then.
yeah.
My gosh.
Oh yeah. I think that.
Well, maybe with the, in general, the level of nerdery and the young staff, competitive, outgoing, got things, super focused.
Yeah.
There might be some serious advancements. Christensen's going to come in and he's going to be like, I don't know what.
Exactly. Can you guys help me get my email on my phone?
But yeah.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to meet a lot of the staff as far as like Darwin Christensen? Has he come in yet? I know that he winters, and I don't even know if I hope he's coming back. I haven't talked to Coach Paramore about it, but he's a local guy, little town called Belmont, about 50 minutes away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, according to last week's
episode.
Right.
Yeah. And but no, he was a high school coach for a million years. And he's got more than 40 years of coaching under his belt.
Wow.
He came up and he was working with tight ends, receivers, and stuff like that.
I missed. So what are you coaching in? What's here I am.
Defensive
50
line.
minutes. How far are we? Like, yeah.
Defensive line. Yep.
You're D-line.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. That makes,
and that's where, Coach Nalley, that's kind of where you've been, buttering your bread for a lot of years is on the defensive side of the ball. You played that in college, and then you got that glimpse of the offense as far as, coaching O-line. So everybody we've talked to, from players to coaches, they said that really gets their depth and breadth of knowledge of how to scheme against that by knowing what the other guys are trying to do.
Right. And that was huge, again, because the first job was receivers. So receivers, you learn the offensive perimeter.
Yep.
And now the second job with Murray, you learn, the front, the offensive line and everything that goes into that. So, in that short 2 fall seasons here that I was with them, it just felt like I grew so much on the offensive side of the ball, which makes me a better defensive coach.
Couldn't agree more.
So how do you, championship ring aside, how do you convince a defensive lineman that you know what you're talking about?
Sure. Yeah. So again, it goes back to what I do know and what I don't know. So if I don't know something, I'm not going to coach you on it.
Right.
I think the thing with me though is, again, going back to my defensive background, I know what it takes. I know what it takes to have a good defense and especially defensive line.
Yeah.
Have lived in that world as far as what we did with Lindsey and, what we asked those guys to do.
Yeah.
But I think the key though to getting a recruit, and hopefully we got 100 on here right now and they can listen to me and we can make a picture, but I think for them, it's all about, the potential for growth. And that's big to me, is knowing that you care about your players, but then also them knowing what they need to do next.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people are just kind of lost, and it's like, well, I talked to coach a little bit, but I don't know what my next step is. I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to do this, how to do that. So I think the more you can be upfront with people and just say, hey, this is what's good about you. This is what not good, good about you. And
these guys that are coming in, they play, depending on where they're coming from. If they're on the line, they've been playing line for a while. They're coming. You've recruited a lineman. Now, are they always a defensive lineman? Were they an offensive lineman, depending on the size of school they played in and that type of thing?
Yeah.
So everybody's maybe at a different level. Linemen are like, they're linemen, with the occasion of some bigger guys that end up being tight ends and things like that, right?
Well, I would argue against that.
Oh, okay.
Just because,
Please
defensive line is just so, there's so much variation as far as, the difference in an end, the difference in a nose, just the amount of weight that can, be the difference. You can have an end that's, 230. You can have a nose that's 330.
Yeah.
So that's a 100-pound difference.
Yeah.
And just what you ask those guys to do are it's going to be different.
Okay.
You're not going to put a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Okay.
So again, everybody's got a chance to make a play.
Yeah.
It goes down again to what we talked about. It's about your skill set.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing is, creating fronts, creating, structures that help our guys have success.
So that's a great answer. I love that. I mean, that's exactly, because to me, that what I asked was the question that most people they look at it and they're like big dudes on the, either side of the ball.
Right.
How, not how hard because it's obviously where the battle is won and lost is on the line.
Right.
Amen.
But it's still one of those things where it's just like, but how, how are you, teaching technique? So that leads to the point where you go, well, do you anticipate that you will, or have you seen in the past and in the other programs where you take into consideration the assets that each player and their individual skill set brings, and then you formulate ways to best employ those special skills, like Liam Neeson, like this dude, how can we, how can we get DQ in here, for example, would have been the question for us last year.
Right.
How do we best employ, or, so that he can either make things happen or create a situation? Or do we say, we also know that a guy like DQ, for example, hate to say it, but sometimes the best thing we can do is let his size and his previous acts speak for themselves, which maybe makes him a double team target, and that frees up opportunity on the line somewhere else.
Yes,
Right.
it really did.
But that's the beauty of it is, your offensive and defensive line, just knowing the rules for offensive line and based off the front, based off the structure. And you think about, I think the best way I see it is the NFL, right? You're creating protection rules based off one guy, two guys. Hey, we got to stop Von Miller.
Right.
Whatever it takes, we got to stop that dude. He can wreck our show. We got to stop Khalil Mack.
Right.
He's a game wrecker. We can't let him, beat us. So that's the beauty of it is understanding offensive line, understanding how they, their rules for protection, understanding the tempo of play calls, which can affect, how they're getting slides and, even run game, your angles and your fronts and all that kind of thing. So definitely want to keep an offense on your heels and just be aggressive, be on the attack.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how we want to be defensively.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
And I was thinking about this the other day too. We have, last year we brought in a new offensive coordinator, so we brought in a new offense, and with Coach Finley, his departure as head coach, but he was also the defensive coordinator for Waldorf. Now we have a new defensive coordinator. We did a little bit of shifting as far as our D-line coach moved to linebackers,
Yep.
and then we have Coach Nalley as our new D-line coach. It's like that's almost got to give some of our competition fits. Like, do you think you figure these guys out? And they change up all the time, all the time. What do you see coming up this season that has you excited?
I just think the overall amount of turnover that, again, has been good for us. I think a lot of times you hear turnover and it's bad, right? We lost our DC, the world's on fire, and all that kind of thing. But, the thing about Coach Chapa, who's been, by the way, the oldest tenured coach on the staff.
Yeah, we pointed that out. Yeah.
Entering his fifth year.
Yeah.
Right. So
5 years. Yeah.
I think a lot of times, and this is no knock, but I think, your coordinators and your head coaches can get a lot of credit for things when really a lot of the assistant coaches are doing just as much.
Yeah, right.
And Coach Chapa has been looking forward to this opportunity. I know he is. So, I'm really excited for him to have that chance and to call the defense and to do his thing and prove, because he's been there, but now it's his time in the moment, to be that guy.
And it's got to be great just for the fact, and knowing Coach Chapa, it's one of those that he's not going to do things in a vacuum. This is how we're going to run every aspect of our defense, because he's going to pull Coach G, he's going to pull you in and say, hey, look, what are we doing here and what do we need to do? And it's not a dictator. It's collaboration 100%.
Absolutely.
Is that something? So like in a meeting, in a planning, whenever that happens for the next game, because it's always, we're going to go 1-0 this week. And then that's how you get an undefeated record like you had. And it's on your ring. I saw 1-0.
Yeah.
So, that's the mentality that the Warriors have. That's what they had last year. It didn't work out. They were defeated a few times, but at the end of the day, they had a pretty darn good season.
Yes, they did.
And I think so like in those prep meetings, whenever they occur,
right.
Is it saying like, I'm retired military. And so I would look at it and go, so my commander would say, okay, Thompson, this is the problem in, this sector here. You come back to me and we need to neutralize this area. You explain to me how you're going to do it. So the next meeting we have, I got my plan put together and I'm just dealing with this one section. Is it kind of like that? Is it similar? Like, do you have meetings where they look at it and go, okay, well, so on the D line, we've identified 3 issues with their particular offense or 6 issues or whatever. What's your plan for these 2 or 3? And then you explain it and they yay or nay it, or how does it work?
Yeah. So I think I'll put this in terms of a Western movie. The good
okay.
one, the other,
yeah.
right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
There's good stuff.
Yeah, both of them, by the way, the original and the more recent one, both good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's stuff where it's like, man, this is really good for us. I think this blitz works. I think we get home, right? And then there's some where I'll say, hey, let's send the house, because D-line, I'm going to say the blitz, and then Coach Shop's going to go, I don't think we're really solid in the back end. I don't think we can do that.
Right.
So I think the main one, when you start a week, and again, this will be my first season, so it'll be good to go through that.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, when you start a week, you kind of throw ideas out there, like, hey, what about this? What about that? Can we do this? Can we do that? And the beauty of it is you try to build as much as you can within the same concepts. So you're telling the kids the same thing to do, you're just presenting it a different way. And that's huge when you can do stuff like that. But to answer your question, you're throwing stuff on the board and some stuff sticks and some stuff doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it too is, what's your personnel for the week? Who's healthy? Who's not healthy?
Yeah, right.
And that's the other key piece is, we can drop a lot of different things, but are we giving our players a chance?
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing, defensively is, listen, and really when I talked about the job with Coach Choppa, we kind of talked about this, but it's less about being in the perfect call, and it's more about the standard of your defense.
Yeah.
It's the running the football and creating a culture, I think, is more important than any call that we're going to create and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's how you get like swarm tackle and all this different, people head on a swivel. People are situationally aware on defense. I mean, it's important throughout the entire game on both sides of the ball, but defense, you don't control, you don't know the play, you don't know the count, you just know that they're going to come at you with something, and so you have to be situationally aware. You can do your reads, but you may not have seen something or whatever, or people make mistakes. There's 22 people on the field, not counting the officials, so you know that you're going to come out with, things can happen, and they always do, and usually the big plays come from a breakdown on one side or other of the ball, or sometimes both in, a fortuitous situation. And then it's like, oh gosh, if we had just done my job and whatever. And so the most disciplined team usually wins.
Exactly. And I think about more than anything, just the standard, right? And then the big thing with Lindsey that Coach Oliver talked about, and it'll still be there, but it's about your process, right? And your process is more important than any one particular point, any one exact thing that you're doing. But when you live behind the process, when you live behind the standard and that's correct, then the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and I want to back up to something you said, talking about culture, and we hear that quite often.
Sure.
And here at Waldorf, that's really one of the things that we're establishing still. We are, what have we got? Six winning seasons? 6 seasons or 7 seasons over 500. It started with Coach Littrell. I think he was here 3 years, and then Coach Finley 3 years. And now that's just, and it's one of those things, there's a high expectation.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, we had Jordan Cooper on the podcast a few weeks ago. And one of the things I loved that Coop said was, whatever expectations that you have of us, raise them. And it's competitors like that. And it's not just Jordan Cooper. There's kids through in and throughout our program that have that expectation. But again, it's about culture, and it's about culture of the university. It's about culture of this football program and continually building. I like what you said about putting players in positions to be successful. 'Cause you don't win every battle, but you got to win the war.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And football is a long game. It's a long season, and there's just so many moments, right, that it's easy to look ahead. It's easy to stay in the past. But, the beautiful thing about defense is good, bad, or ugly, right? You go back to what's in front of us, be where your feet are and take care of that.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
It's coach speak, and I'm doing it right now, but, you just go 1-0. You just take care of that current opportunity, and the rest takes care of itself.
Right.
Well, and that's we say go 1-0, and we talk about the final score,
Undefeated at home,
and that's
1-0 every week. Mm-hmm.
But for each individual player, they got to go 1-0 every play.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what my role is. I have to win this time. Do everything I can to win, because as you well know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you do your job the way that you're supposed to do it, and it opens up the 10 other guys out there to be able to do their job and maybe clean up a mess that you're creating for the offense.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about defense. I really do.
Well, I just love defense, and that, I almost disagree with you a little bit, and that there's a lot of times you can be out of gap and, you're just messed up. But if you're running to the football and your standard is right, the rest takes care of itself.
Yes.
The tough one to me has been on offense. And offense is so much harder, in my opinion, to create, and that there's so many different moving parts. There's so many things, and it takes one guy to mess it up.
Yeah, right.
For the whole offense.
Yeah.
And it takes just one guy to make it all right for defense.
Very
But
true.
I will say this, what I love about defense is trust. You're talking on the back end, and you're communicating in NAIA and in out in coverage, or the same thing with a defense. We're blitzing somebody.
Yeah.
Trusting the guy in front of you that he's going to be in the right gap, so I can be in mine.
Right.
And stuff like that. Trust is huge to me on defense.
Couldn't agree more.
So where do you like to? Now you're the D-line coach, so I would say that's where I'd like to see most of the tackle. I'd like to be. I know that's not possible, but I loved saying, DQ macabre from the PA, and I'd like to be able to do that again.
Oh, and that'll happen.
Yeah,
that'll happen.
Yeah, because we have a problem on defense if it's made consistently in the backfield, and like you said, it's trust. So I can trust that the guy to my left or right is going to make it. I can trust when I'm on the front line that I've got such a strong, linebacker core that it's not going to get more than 3 or 4 yards, but then your trust starts to wither, but it's like, but they'll get them back there,
Right,
the safeties,
But that's the sign of a great defense is, when you do bust, when you do have a big play,
right,
being able to reset.
Yeah.
Because let's call it what it is. I hate to break this to you guys, but more than likely we'll get points against us.
Yeah, they're going to score.
Someone at some point in the season will score a touchdown against us.
Yeah.
I hate to break that.
Yeah, once or twice.
Well, that will
going to take that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Come on.
But once,
right?
Once, not twice.
Yeah.
Bend don't break.
That's
so,
right.
That's the thing is adversity in football, and that's why to me football is such a great teacher in life.
Yeah,
that there's so much stuff that happens. You want to talk about a PI call that, I don't know, or a targeting call that somebody got thrown out, or in our case, maybe we did want a targeting call from what I heard last year. But that's
in both cases. Actually, we saw it both ways. We had it on,
But in either way, put the ball down. Let's roll.
Yeah, you got to.
We'll make it right.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, officials they're an integral part of the game, but you have to ignore what they do. As far as players,
right?
Those guys, you might get a targeting call and you're going to get disqualified for the remainder of the game, whatever. And then, because it's NAIA, they're going to go back and review it, and the conference is going to call and say, that really wasn't targeting, or hey, when we took out your quarterback at Dakota State, that was targeting. It probably should have been called. Sorry, our bad. And I made the call from the sideline, by the way.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, right.
I did not use very Christian language. I'm going to tell you that right now, Coach.
But it's funny.
But usually those aren't. You don't lose a game because of an official call.
No.
I mean, it can happen, but it's so rare. It is. You didn't lose today because of a call, or even if the refs do suck, and it does. I mean, you have better crews than others. That's not why you didn't win, more than likely.
Well, I would say probably ask a New Orleans Saints fan, a couple of years ago in the playoffs. But what do you always hear? What do you always hear from a good team? After?
Are you a New Orleans Saints fan?
No, I'm just saying the one wheel route.
Should be.
Yeah.
Am I a Vikings fan or a Saints fan?
Saints fan.
I'm a Saints fan.
Yeah.
You are a Saints fan.
Oh, I don't know. I'm really a Titans fan, but
there you go. He can be a Titans fan. That's fine. Yeah. He's not gonna have to be one or the other.
Hey, we got Derek Carr. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyhow, okay, so
sorry, Coach.
it's about that. But a good team's always gonna say, yeah, but we messed up in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this happened. And that's on us.
Yep.
And to me, we talk about A plus E equals P. I've had another saying that I've always kind of followed by the coaches that I've been under, but it's E plus R equals O. event plus response equals outcome.
Yeah.
Right. You can't always control the event. There's some events that, hey, life hands you a bad hand.
Yeah.
But guess what? You can't control the response. You can control how you react to that situation. And a lot of times, how you respond determines the outcome. So that's control the R. That's kind of the thing. But I will say this too for referees. It's a tough job right now, to be a referee. And I just think that in the coaching profession, or the football industry, I should say, we don't show them enough respect for what they do, and we may not pay them enough. But I think the main thing, though, is if we want to see better, performances from referees, right? We got to make sure that we're training them the right way, and that they're seeing the right things, and that they understand how we see it is the same as how they see it.
Yeah.
And that's part where, I guess I'm a coach, but it's kind of like your player, right? Your player keeps messing up. Well, is that his fault or is that your fault? I don't know. I guess you judge that. You be the judge of that. But to me, it's like we always have a chance to make something better. And that's one example where, yes, you know what? It's tough right now when you get a bad call at a referee and you want to yell your head off and, do all that other thing. But does that do any good?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, and you usually don't win anyways. Yeah. I mean the argument. So
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to go, yeah, you're right. Pick the flag up, coach.
Yeah. No, I have heard of makeup calls. I have heard of that.
Right.
Yeah.
You say, hey, man, I'm looking at this. He's doing this. Why are you not calling it? I think that's the better way to go about it.
Right.
But just saying, if your first comment is, if the first right call you would do is throw me out of this game. Yeah, that's probably not winning their heart over.
No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There's, and I'm not saying you're trying to,
Right.
snooze them into a call or something, but when you're kind of realistic with them, like, all right, hey man, here, this is what I'm seeing. Why aren't we getting this call? What are you seeing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hopefully they give you an answer back.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Sideline awareness. That's one thing with this new young coaching staff we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Well, and we had
last year, we had
Brock.
There's a little migration into the field area. That's so we don't have to have sideline violations. We don't want this,
We
but
can't have that happen.
Yeah, we had strength and conditioning staff that literally Brock had to stay with Coach Paramore and just pull him back to the sideline. And it was like Brock wasn't even there. Chasen would just start walking backwards, and it was
yeah.
yeah. And Brock had to be exhausted by the end of the game because that's all he did was like, coach.
Yeah.
Coach.
You're here now and bringing some Kentucky with you. We should bring it back around a little bit about the family and some
Absolutely.
information
That's where
about
I
you.
was-
Please do.
Yeah.
Just sitting here waiting. Yeah, because that's one of the important things. We can get to know about you, your football acumen, your pedigree, and your football IQ. Obviously, all that is right up where it needs to be because, hell, you're at Waldorf, let's be honest. There's a foundation back in Owensboro, Kentucky that made you the human being that you are, and we want to know about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think mom and dad were both huge for me. Mom is a school teacher. Mom's a principal now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but both of my parents have worked their way up from basically poverty, and have earned everything they've gotten to this point, and obviously good Lord's been good to them and blessed them with opportunities. But, if there's one thing they taught me, it's hard work, and just the results of, the fruits of your labor and working hard and being diligent. And I've certainly learned that from them, but also learned it through sports and, my agriculture experience. Yeah. And, I think that humbles you a little bit, and just understanding where my family's been at, and then also what we've been able to do. On my dad's side, my dad was my first coach. Coached me in Upward, coached me in, youth league and all the rest. So, he was always hard on me, a lot harder than the other kids, but I knew that's because he wanted the best for me.
Yeah.
And I think, him being a coach, and I think he'd tell you, but I think in his profession, he's had a great profession in agriculture and in radio and broadcasting and a lot of other things. But, his heart has always been in coaching. Mm-hmm. So I think part of that from me came from him, I guess, a little bit too.
Right.
So you got that going. I'm the oldest. I've got two brothers and one sister. So Rob is at Kentucky right now as a grad student. He's doing he's an agronomy major.
Okay.
So also in
Nice.
the agriculture world.
He could move to Iowa, live with you.
Yeah, and he might have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Nice.
He might have that opportunity.
We know some people.
That's right.
But he's working for a great guy down there that's really at the top of the game in terms of research. You want to talk about soil science and microbes and all that kind of thing. I mean, that's right up his alley, and getting a better yield, which I'm sure our Iowa faithful farmers are all about.
That's right.
That's kind of his world. John, the youngest brother, he's a football player now for Southern Illinois. He's an offensive lineman.
Salukis.
Yeah, the Salukis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he got that going for him. But no, he and I have always been close, especially because he's the one that loves football like I love football, and to me, if you're all in on the game, you're all in on the game. So,
right.
With just being able to talk with him about that and, I'm not going to claim I helped him in his recruiting process, but just trying to give him advice.
Yeah, right,
working through all that kind of stuff, was.
You got the ring.
Well,
you got that.
Yeah. But
so
he's a lot better player than I am.
And then a sister too.
And a sister. We don't talk much about her.
No,
and that's not because it's bad, but it's actually funny. So my brother, the youngest brother, the famous one, so he got on an interview his freshman year of high school. He had some big all-star game or something like that.
Right.
And, the person asked him, so who do you want to thank for being here? And he named everybody off but our sister, so it's just kind of the joke.
Man.
And you're like, man, screw Grace, just, don't so, and we kind of do that. Like if we pray before a meal, we just won't mention Grace, it's just kind of a joke, but Grace is awesome. She's a freshman at Murray.
Okay.
So that was cool. And that was another reason why I thought Murray made sense for me was I got the chance to be with my sister.
Yeah.
And especially with her, first time in college, you know how that is, especially with, potentially some girls and just being insecure and just, you know how it is.
Yeah.
It's an emotional time.
Yeah.
Being able to be the big brother and be there for her, her being there for me at times when, I got the call that, hey, they offered it, headed to Iowa, and her being able to kind of help me move out of my apartment there and on quick notice. So,
I've leaving at midnight.
Well, okay, so I went to Murray to Owensboro.
I
kind of recouped. I recouped there for a day or two and then hit the road.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Nice. And so is your sister the youngest of the four?
She is. She's the baby.
She's well protected, I'll bet.
Yeah, I think she's spoiled too a little bit.
Well, the youngest always is,
right.
Well, and
I will say this though, she is an excellent baker.
Really?
She makes wedding cakes. She's top of the line.
Nice.
About anything. So, especially with, John, the big old line.
He likes bread.
He's all about food and sweet food. So it's like, hey, Grace, when are you making those brownies again?
I like baking. Heidi calls me the Angry Baker. That's a nickname because I make bread and I don't mind making bread. I make good bread and I'm actually not a bad baker, but I get so mad, which is a weird thing because so I really enjoy kneading the bread.
No bread for you.
I beat the hell out of that bread, and and so the Angry Baker lives. That's good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, do we have a couple Four City kids down at Southern Illinois? I was wondering because I think the Fenske boys might have went there. Because I know Noah was at Colorado last year, and then with Prime going to Colorado, he decided that that may not work out for him. So I
took the portal.
I think he might have went to Southern Illinois. So we might, there might be another connection.
There you go.
Yeah, so your brother might have some teammates from here in rural Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. I know one of the coaches, was at an NAIA school in Iowa. Wasn't here, but we just kind of heard that I took the job, and he's like, "Oh, he's going to Iowa. Let's go." So that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So
and it's a close knit community. This coaching community, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's one of the best things about this industry is there will be something or somebody you hadn't talked to in 10 years. And again, I'm not that old yet, but and they do anything. They give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah.
Or it could be somebody you don't know, and they're just willing to sit and talk and teach you whatever. So that's the awesome thing about football is there's always people that's willing to give back. I think it's like hard for me right now just because I'm young and I want to help people how I can, but I'm just not at that stage compared to when I'm in year 20, year 30. And I'm able to help out the next Will Nalley or, whoever it is and give back. So I think that's the thing, like with parenting, but then also now kind of in coaching, you've been blessed and you receive so much, you owe it to them to give it back to the next generation.
Well, it's something that I've been thinking about. It's part of, this, a change from head coaches. So we've said it a bunch of times. We've got a young stable of coaches, and, part of the, it's not a downside, but the reality is like how many coaches in that network do these coaches know?
Right.
So the advantage to you in that case is like you can call Waldorf, you can talk to Chapa, you can have a good interview, you can have the enthusiasm, you can get yourself here.
Right.
That's harder to do when a coach has been coaching for 15 years and has got 50 people in their memory bank of who's a hard worker and who isn't. So now we take take a little bit of that risk and we say, well, let's employ it. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Let's all just prove ourselves. And obviously you're going to continue to learn and grow and develop.
Right.
And what a great place to do it. But here at Bolstor Field.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Coach. And we couldn't be more excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Because, I said it at the beginning of the program that, a new member of our family, and you're going to be part of our family while you're here. We also know that Waldorf has a type of program that we're just renting you guys for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's fine because,
who knows what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
And especially with me, right? Like I've taken a new job every 6 months or 8 months now has been my most recent one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the biggest one for me is making sure I work with good people. And I just feel really confident that I'm with good people and I have the chance to grow. So that's kind of like a player, right? You kind of talked about the portal. I think it's about showing people that they value you, but then also you have the chance for growth. And
Right.
for me, I've always been about that, the opportunity to grow. And again, kind of with my story, I've taken a lot of jobs, and you may think, golly, this guy, man, he's just applying every other day for a job. Just he just hates where he's at all the time. But me, I've never picked up the phone. I've never tried to get a job until this past year, and that was as a result of my mentors telling me you need to.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's always been my thing is I want to be good where my feet are. I want to be, I always want to leave wherever I'm at better, but as long as I'm there, right, I want to make good with what I have. And I want to grow.
Well, and I'll take exception with what you just said about yourself because I don't believe that's true. Because if anybody was listening to this podcast and listened to the first part explaining your journey post player into coaching, they understand that. Everybody understands that.
Right.
And I don't think anybody's thinking he's some job hopping guy going here and there.
No.
You listen to the right people. And to back up real quick, Noah Fenske.
No offense to you.
Noah.
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you were being slanged. Like,
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Cool.
can see that.
For a moment,
I
it sounded like
use that.
you had like a Chicago accent.
Oh yeah, Noah Fenske there.
Yeah.
No,
Noah Fenske. Okay.
a kid by the name of
Space.
Noah
I gotcha.
Fenske.
Okay.
Is at Southern Illinois. He's also an offensive lineman.
Okay.
He went to the University of Iowa, then transferred to Colorado, and now he's a Saluki.
There you
So
go.
your brother and him probably know each other pretty well by
Yeah, I'll ask him about that.
I think that Bob did that on purpose. Like, is that a thing? Like,
Well, that's
did he sit there and go, Noah Fenske?
Noah Fenske. Yeah, it's kind of funny
I
there.
mean, it's possible.
Well, and it was interesting because, of course, we have Will Nalley here now, and last week with Coach Silva,
Yeah.
and all I could think of most of the time was "Hi ho, Silva."
You didn't say that once.
I didn't
No,
because
you
I didn't
should've.
know if because he sat next to me. I didn't want him to punch me because he's a stout young man.
Yeah.
But then I was also thinking about instead of Whoa Nelly, Will Nalley.
Yeah. Wow. What is going
Will
on with
Nalley.
me?
That's kind of the new, instead of saying Whoa Nelly, you can say Will Nalley.
Nice.
There's a Rand McNally map. I think
There is.
Truckers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've gotten that one too.
Nice.
McNally,
Yeah, that is
or something
McNally.
like that.
Did you have a nickname coming up?
Yeah. So
Uh-oh.
we'll have to break it here, but it's kind of like a Western. I don't know, but
Mhm.
All right.
the old when I was at Murray, which again, as a player, I've always had good people in my corner and told me the right thing. But
Yep.
he's now the DC at Eastern Kentucky, but I don't know how. And he has an interesting way of nicknaming people. But he just kind of looked at me and said, "Man, Wild Bill." That's who you are. So,
All right.
that's who I am.
All right.
Wild Bill.
Did you get a pledge pin? Because, if you remember Animal House,
Yeah.
Your Delta Tau Chi name is now
Flounder.
Pinto. Why Pinto? Why not?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Animal House? Have you ever seen that movie?
I don't watch many movies.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you, that is a classic.
It is, it's National Lampoon's Animal
In fact,
House.
I felt like that was what college was going to be like.
I tried to do that.
Yeah, I tried to.
Yeah, we have.
Even made my own college
Oh yeah,
sweatshirt. Had to make it.
yeah. He,
John Belushi.
John Belushi,
Mhm.
his character wore a blue sweatshirt with white letters that just said college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Now, the guy there, his nickname is La Fama Blanca from Eastbound and Down.
La Fama
oh, yeah.
Blanca.
La Fama Blanca, the dude with the white,
Yeah.
white get up.
Yeah, yeah.
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 So
Eastbound and Down.
He's got a nickname.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That was his name. So
Nice.
that's what I kind of figure out.
Fama Blanca.
Everybody gets a name. So
Yeah. That's a good show, by
Yeah.
the way. Eastbound and Down. I forgot about that show.
it's a great song too.
That's a fantastic song. In
Great
fact,
song.
Yeah, when I announced the local high school baseball games, that's the last song I play.
I love it, really do. All right, so we're kind of wrapping up here. So I want to thank our sparkly new defensive line coach, Will Nalley, for taking some time. Coach, it's been a pleasure to get to know you as always.
absolutely. Been a pleasure to be on here.
Yeah, and hopefully it wasn't too much pressure.
No.
No, that's good.
No pressure.
That's good. Well, anyway, absolute pleasure, folks. Come out. We got spring game coming up before too long. Come out and see this young man in action, coaching these young men into greater glory and just being a little bit better version of themselves than they were yesterday. And so very important. And I'm super excited about what you're going to do with these guys on the field. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Waldorf GridIron Club podcast. For Troy Thompson, this is Andy Buffington. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and forever and always, go Warriors. You can join the Waldorf GridIron Club today by sending a check to the Waldorf GridIron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa, 50436.
Or message us by visiting and like our Facebook page, Waldorf GridIron Club, or email us at waldorfgridironclub@gmail.com.
Or it's as easy as clicking on the Support the Show link on your phone. Become a patron of the Gridiron Club by choosing to support the program monthly. $100 is the Black membership at $9 a month.
The $250 level is purple at $25 a month.
$500 is the Warrior membership at $45 a month.
The all-conference level is $750 or $65 a month.
$1,000 is the All-American membership at $85 a month.
The champion level is $125 a month, and that's $1,500 a year.
$2,500 is the Hall of Fame membership.
The Waldorf GridIron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farmstead Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. The music is by Christian Leo. The Waldorf GridIron Club is a non-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to football student-athletes of Waldorf University. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.